Hey everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Day in Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So another hot, humid day here in Southern California, but not as bad as it was earlier in the week. And at least it didn't rain today. So those of you that live here experienced some rain the last day or two. That was pretty weird for this time of year here. And again, I can't really complain about humidity to people in the South and Texas and Gulf Coast, but for here, it's been pretty humid, pretty gross. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about this bad boy here, the 67 Beetle belonging to our viewer James. So I went ahead and dug into this today pretty hard here. I actually spent pretty much all day on it. The only thing I had done to it previously, which I think I mentioned yesterday finally, was put the windshield in it. So again, the car came in for, I guess I'd say like three main things. One was the windshield. The other is to complete the brakes, bleed them, whatever it takes to make them stop, like brakes are supposed to do. And then the other was to kind of finish up the engine and get it running. I guess do like, the cam brake in, adjust valves, all that good stuff. Pretty much get the motor to where the car is ready to drive. And so started in on most of those things today, I suppose. So since we're already standing back here at the motor, let's go ahead and start here. So the original plan of the owner was to only run an external oil cooler, and he had a C-Trab oil cooler mounted up underneath the package tray on the torsion bar. It was all mounted up super nice, wired and stuff already, but no plumbing. And then here where the cooler goes stock, he had the adapter that has, essentially an inlet and an outlet to send the oil to, say, a filter and or a cooler, whatever, and then back to the motor through there. Anyway, couple things. One is the fittings that he had. So he had fittings, but he didn't have any hose. The fittings he had were all AN fittings, which are amazing. I love AN fittings, but the issue is that running the oil in and out right here versus full flow, where you do it kind of like under the motor, running it out and back in over here, you pretty much have to plumb through the front engine tin here, which isn't necessarily a big deal. We can pop some big holes in that with grommets. Where the issue is, though, is doing that with hoses that have AN fittings on them. It's kind of a one-way street. Like once you assemble, at least the style of AN fittings he has, once you assemble those, the ends don't really come off. And so basically what I was going to have to do was put a couple holes in here. Again, there's two hoses, so holes about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Put grommets in those, and then run the hoses through there, and then with the hoses going through on the other side, put fittings, and then obviously put fittings on this side here, and then the hoses would be kind of captured in this front engine plate here. They wouldn't be able to like really come out, if that makes any sense. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, so it didn't really make sense to use the external cooler on here. A couple reasons. One, this is a stock motor. This is a stock 1500 dual port, which is what a 67 Beetle would come with. The other thing, so you don't really need an external cooler. And again, there was not, the way he had it, there was not going to be a stock cooler. So it's just not really an ideal setup, and then having to route the hoses through here with AN fittings, and if he went to pull the motor out in the future, it would be a pain in the ass, because essentially you'd have two hoses that are sort of stuck in that piece of tin there, and the whole thing. So what I recommended to him was that we sort of forget about the external cooler for now and run the stock non-doghouse cooler, and then put the C-Trab cooler away for when he puts a big motor in here, which he wants to do maybe in a year and a half or so, And then at that point, set that motor up with full flow. And then, you're running the inlet and outlet out, basically out in and out of the motor down here. And you can sort of route all the hoses neatly around underneath the car rather than have things going through over here. So it just made a lot more sense, again, on a stock motor. Just this is plenty of cooling capacity for a stock motor, and just zero advantage to having an external cooler on this motor, especially only an external cooler. Anyway, sorry guys, that was probably a bit long-winded, but that was kind of a pretty big chunk of my day, was trying to figure this out. And this is one of those things I had to kind of scratch my head and figure out the best approach, and finally came to the realization that it was, boom, stock cooler. So went ahead and put that on. And then what else? Some little things here. The engine to body seal was on top of these versus going under it like it is here. So got those taken care of on both sides. The fan shroud and generator was just kind of sitting here. So started the day off by removing those, removed the carburetor. The generator stand was just kind of sitting there. So pulled it off and then put in the gasket, of course, facing the right way with sealant. So that's on there for real now. I did also talk to him and asked him if he wanted us to put the soundboard in, and he said, yeah, sure. So this is the time to do it. So I need to acquire the soundboard for back here and put that in before we really go any further with the motor. Because really the next step here is to put on the fan shroud and generator, and then the carburetor and stuff like that. And this thing is going to be a running motor pretty quick at this point, especially now that we got the oil cooler thing sorted out. But you can't really put on the firewall mat with any of that stuff in the way. So gotta wait till Monday or Tuesday when I get that sound mat, and then that'll go in. The other thing we did was on the brakes. He does have front and rear disc brakes on here, and the rear kit is one that has emergency brakes. However, the cables weren't installed. So Jacob and I went ahead and installed the cables and routed those up to the brake handle and got them hooked up to the brake handle. And they seem to be working fine on these disc brake cars. Usually the e-brake won't really work until the brakes are bled, because until the brake is bled, there's like a massive space between the brake pads and the rotor, and so the e-brake doesn't really do anything. But once they're bled, I think it'll work good. The other issue that had me kind of scratching my head on this car for a while today, and kind of making some phone calls and stuff, was related to his master cylinder. So this is the master cylinder that was in there, which I think is maybe a stock replacement one. I don't really know what this is, but I will show you the issue that we had. The issue that we had was that this is the reservoir that he had with it from AC Industries, and it won't fit. Like, it doesn't even, so there's supposed to be rubber grommets in here, and then these barbed fittings kind of press down into that, and that's what faces this way, but no matter. That's what forms that seal. Well, this thing won't even go in here without the rubber seals. So plus this is a pretty small looking master cylinder, especially to be used with four-wheel disc brakes. So tried to figure out if there was a way to get a reservoir that would fit, and I think actually the dual circuit bus one would, if I got the grommets for here, because it has much thinner posts on here, and I've seen the dimensions of those, and it looks like they would probably be compatible with this once the grommets were in there. But I'm just not super comfortable with this tiny kind of wimpy looking master cylinder with four-wheel disc brakes. So I went ahead and ordered a larger master cylinder that's made for four-wheel disc brakes, and so it's going to work much, much better. And then I'm fairly positive that we'll actually be able to use the reservoir that he provided, because most of those aftermarket cylinders use these big fat connections like this. So yeah, we'll probably have that on maybe on Monday or so, Monday, Tuesday. At that point, we can probably go ahead and finish up the brakes on here. I had Jacob go around the car today and check all the brake connections, brake lines and stuff like that, make sure everything was tight. So yeah, I think once we get the new and upgraded master cylinder, that his brakes are going to go together. So yeah, once we get master cylinder and the soundboard there, I think this car is actually going to go together pretty quick, and we can get it running for him. I think he wants us to go ahead and do like cam break in, and then, you know, change the oil, adjust the valves, all that good stuff. So yeah, this should be maybe next week we'll even finish this thing up. We'll see. Kind of depends on what's going on with other projects. Speaking of other projects, if you caught a glimpse of this earlier, that's why I had to pause earlier. My interior guy stopped by. These are the new door panels for the black Speedster. So we actually looked up what the panels look like on early 356s, and this is pretty much what they look like. They've got these pockets that run the full length of the bottom that have this little kind of swoop shape to them that you can see there. So yeah, I had them pretty much copy that style. And so yeah, those are looking amazing. I can't wait to see the interior done on this car. Gonna look incredible. The other thing with that car is I spent some time this morning staring at that car. Well, here, let's walk outside. Staring at the car, the Speedster replica, and I think that, you know, the owner doesn't really have, well, most people don't have an unlimited budget. He's got kind of a budget number in mind. And honestly, I gave the car a rinseless wash today, and you know, it's got a few spots on it that I think can be polished out, or maybe we can touch them up and make them at least a little bit better. But as far as spending his budget is concerned, I'm actually now recommending that we skip the paint job, because, you know, if you stand a few feet back and look at this car, the paint doesn't really scream like terrible. What screams terrible, that I've kind of mentioned before, is this wheel and tire combination that is just completely wrong on this car. So my suggestion to him, which he agreed with, was that we take the money that we were going to spend on the paint and we put it toward like a better wheel and tire combo, and that we might also have to spend some on the suspension. So again, no drop spindles, no adjustable beam, but the front of this thing is just kind of slammed. And I'm guessing that it's the same thing as that orange bug, where some genius or whatever like pulled some torsion leaves out to lower it, because I don't see any reason that the front of this car is sitting that low, other than it probably has some torsion leaves pulled out. So yeah, I'm kind of suggesting that we figure that out and put in probably an adjustable height beam in the back. The car is an IRS, but either just plain re-index it, or maybe even put in adjustable spring plates and get the car, I would say, up maybe like an inch in the front, and then pretty much level out the back. And then I'm looking to get some drums for the back that are Porsche pattern, and then go ahead and upgrade the front to disc brakes also with Porsche pattern, and then put on some like really wide Fuchs replicas on here that are really gonna like fill out these fender arches. And then from the back have like a nice fat aggressive looking tire on there, instead of these kind of skinny ones that are on here sitting way inside the fenders, just looking kind of wimpy. So I think that's actually the plan now, is don't so much worry about the paint, see what we can do with some of these little areas. But as far as just the car overall looking killer, the interior and then the stance and the wheels and tires, I think are gonna put this thing over the top and make it look like a really cool car, and guys gonna have a lot of fun with it. So that is the updated plan on that one for now. So guys, I believe, actually not so fast. One more teeny tiny thing that I did today on the Barndoor motor. Again, I'm telling you, it's a tiny thing. Is I went ahead and installed the gears on the oil pump, and then the Gene Berg, boom, there it is, the Jeanberg pump cover. So that's all on there now too. So I think the only thing left on the long block now is the flywheel. So anyway, okay, for real, that's it, guys. I will be in briefly tomorrow. This guy is going home, so say goodbye to it. Everyone's favorite Van Halen tribute car. There it is. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow.